One of the greatest gifts you can give to a child is the belief that their voice matters. And one of the simplest ways to do that is to help them write their story and illustrate their story and put it into a hardback book. When I say their story, I don't mean, oh, I was born at an early age. I mean the stories that come out of a child's mind, the tales and the ideas, the creative flow that comes out of them. Kids are great storytellers. And this is a time that I want to encourage you to slow down and hear their stories. And if they can type, encourage them to type them up. If they can't type them up for them and work on editing them just a little bit. Maybe not. Leave them just as they are. But type them up and let's make them into a children's book. I have all these books. I am a homeschool mom of 4 kids. Now, my kids are all grown and gone, so I guess I am an alumni homeschool mom. But I have books, and this is just some of them. I have a stack full in the living room on the bookshelf where my kids have written books through the years, and multiple books. Each of them have written multiple books where they've illustrated them. They're hardback books. They chose the color for the inside. They've written a summary of their book. They wrote an about the author for their book. And sometimes, after they've written several books, it'll be about the author, and other books by this author will be on the inside flap. And they've written them, they've illustrated them, and they've told a great story again and again. And they're all so good. They're treasures. Those are treasures to me. I adore these books. So just fun. I mean, you don't have to have artistic ability. You don't have to be a great writer, but write down the thoughts of, what is this? That's a summary of the book. A 7-year-old girl. Oh, look, and here's one. Other books by this author, Scary Grave and My Trip to the Zoo. So this is her 3rd book. She wrote one when she was 5, 6, and 7. So how fun is that to have other books by the author from your 7-year-old child? So I'm 4 videos. The first 2 are gonna be super short, super simple, just encouraging you to write and to illustrate the book. Videos 3 and 4, I'm gonna have the camera down on my hands and showing you how I am creating a book. I am now an alumni homeschool mom, and so I'm now creating a book for my grandson. And so I have illustrated pictures with watercolor on watercolor paper and made copies of them for the book. I didn't take time to write the book. I just have in my heart to use Psalm 139 for him to know and hear his identity of who he is and the value that he has. So that's the book I'm creating. And you can do the same thing. You can have your children write something that they learned that year, but to me, it's so precious to have them write their stories. So they're creative stories. So let's see. I have all these things I wanted to cover and I got off, so I don't know if I covered them all. So the way we did it when I was homeschooling my children is in the fall, with their curriculums, they wrote a story every week. And so, in kindergarten, they were writing us, actually, they're just writing letters, thinking, one letter, A, B, C. But as they got older and they were writing a sentence or a paragraph or a 3-paragraph essay or 5-paragraph essays or full stories or comparison contrast, however it was, they were writing every week on a Monday. We'd edit it through the week and we'd have a final writing on Friday. Were they perfect? No, but it was something they had worked on for a week. And so by the end of the semester, by January, when we came back to school after the holidays, they had 12 to 15 writings that they had written that school year. So we would choose one of those stories or write a new one. So there was a year my son didn't like any of his because he was in that year where he was learning different kind of paragraph styles and just didn't like anything he had written. So he wanted to come up with something brand new. And that's when he came up with the mysterious water cup. He couldn't think of anything to write. He didn't know, what was worthy of a story and how am I going to come up with something new? And we were packing up to go to after-school sports after several days of brainstorming. And, you know, so all the kids are packing up their stuff and getting their ballet stuff and their volleyball stuff and their soccer stuff and jumping into the car. And on his way out, he scooped up a little green tree frog and had it in his hands and got into the middle back seat of the car. And I had no idea I had a frog in my car. So everybody was in, they had their seatbelts fastened. I said, is everybody ready? Yes, we're all ready. So I put the car into gear and moved forward. And just then the frog jumped out of his hand onto the center console right next to me. And when my son leaped forward to catch the frog before I saw it, which was too late, it jumped into my water cup. I had an open cup full, a big cup full of water. And it was now swimming in my water. And we were all going, what's going on? What's in my water cup? So, of course, it didn't take long. I stopped the car. We got the frog out of the car before we left. But it made for the beginning of a great story. And your story doesn't have to be true. I think I've said that once before. It just needs to be you. So he started with that story, and then he turned it into a little bit of a sci-fi where, you know, he went and caught a snake and left that into the car to catch the frog. And then, you know, and then he multiplied and had snakes all over the car and just whatever. He can make up anything he wants to make his story. And that became of all the stories that he wrote through the years, I think that was his favorite story. So he wasn't comfortable drawing a frog, so we bought stickers and he drew around it. He traced, I think, a hand, and then or did a tutorial on making a hand, and then a cup, but that was a sticker. And drew a picture of me turning green with the frog. And lots of frogs, but just fun, just a really fun book. So I am going to show you later in the last video. I've put in the supply list in the description of this video to have clear contact paper, so that, because this, you know, front illustration is a little bit loose and some of the pages are loose, and the color of the colored paper has faded. And so in all of our other books after this one, we've used clear contact paper to preserve the color of the paper and to secure it inside the book so it's not falling apart like that one is. I should still go back and cover that one with contact paper to save it for future. So for this week, I'm going to look down at my paper so I don't forget. I've gotten a little off track. So for this week, choose a story or write a new one. Everything is okay. Keep it short. Children's stories are short, typically with more pictures than with words. This week is a good time to check out a lot of picture books from the library and notice things like, get some books out of the library and notice things like why we use colored paper. They use colored paper too. And why we use 2 pages of colored paper. One is attached to here, and one is your first page that introduces it. You're going to notice things like the title of the book is listed here. And then it's listed again here. This is just the title and the author. So there's 2 title pages before the book actually starts. There's a dedication page and there's a copyright page. They decorated theirs. We didn't always decorate ours, but you could before the story even starts. Sometimes words are on both pages and lots of pictures, and sometimes there's a picture on one side and words on the other. So you're just noticing things like that. Oh, and at the end, it ends. Sometimes there's a page here that says the end. Sometimes there's just a blank page there before it ends. So just notice things like that and let the kids decide. Do you want a page that says the end? Do you want to not? Do you want to finish with an extra page or do you not? All those things. Oop, my book is about to fall. All my books are about to fall. But this is the time for them to start noticing all the parts of a book and what parts they want to include. This is their book. They get to include it or not. So because we were making books year after year, we created our own publishing company. You know, it was just in name, but we said Weintraub Publishing Company. That's our last name, Gainesville, Florida. That's where we live. So text and illustrations by Joseph Weintraub. So you know, we had that in all of them, and the kids were just so proud to say that we had a Weintraub Publishing Company. But they could name it anything they want. They could call it Joseph Publishing Company, or, you know, Creativity Publishing Company, whatever they wanted. Text and illustration copywritten that year. We were just finding a way to put the year on it, and to say it was part of the copyright is really fun. So so start working on books. Start working on a story this week. Rewrite it, make it better, fix the spelling, fix it however you want, and come back next week with the video, ready to move on with your story so that we can together create a hardback book with your child's story. Now, I'm making this into a 4-week project. You could make it into a 1-week project when all the videos are posted. You could just do it all back to back. I did have a friend come over. She was a teacher and she wanted to know today how to make it. And tomorrow she was going to teach her kids at school. She was using this as a curriculum in her school, with her curriculum in her school. So we sat down and we did the whole thing in 1 2-hour sitting. Not a big deal. It can be done. And then she did this with her whole class. Her whole class made books for their final projects in school. So this week, I want you to work on your stories, edit them, and start thinking about how you're going to illustrate your stories. You can use pencil, you can use watercolor. If you use watercolor or acrylic paint, you'll need to use it on a hard paper that's too hard for these books, and then make copies of them. Or you can use watercolor pencils or magic markers or crayons, however you want, or a mixture of all of them. But consider what you're going to use for those, and come back ready to illustrate your books next week. So if this feels meaningful to you, I want you to know you don't have to do it all at once, and you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to do it with you. This is so fun. If this process isn't about making something perfect, it's about making a treasured memory, an heirloom memory that you'll have for the rest of your life. You'll be able to read it with your children. Your children will have a book they can read out loud to you. Even before they can read their own books, which is really fun. But this is something they'll have forever, and you'll read to your grandchildren, their children, and that'll be special to them as well. This is just a treasured memory you'll have forever. So you'll find the next video linked in this one. You'll also find the all the things you need. What is it? The supply list. You'll find the supply list in the description below, everything that you need. I think I'm going to try to link it all to Amazon links. You know, back when I was doing this with my kids, there was no Amazon, and so we were going to the office supply store and buying everything. But for this one, the one I'm going to demo with you and do along with you, I bought everything on Amazon. So I'm going to include Amazon links to everything below, so that you can just get it quickly and have it by, you won't really need it by next week, because next week you'll still be illustrating your stories, but you'll need them by the 3rd week. So that you can watch them all in order. And if this matters to you, I'd love for you to join me for the next 3 weeks and bring your children's stories to life. So thank you, and I look forward to working with you again for the next few weeks. Bye.